Welcome to Blockchain Recorded, the podcast for the tech curious, where we talk about anything and everything related to the exponentially evolving crypto blockchain and Web 3.0 space. Blockchain Recorded's mission is simple: to share knowledge and insight and help evolve education in blockchain fundamentals and decentralization solutions. We at Blockchain Recorded are not registered investment advisors and do not deal with financial or trading token elements, nor offer any licensed financial services. The content of this podcast is provided for informational and educational purposes only, while the opinions of all parties involved are their own. I'm your host, Nina Cerar. I have a finance background, having worked on Wall Street and the pharmaceutical industry. After living in 5 countries and dedicating time to my family, I left the corporate world. Today, I work as a freelance consultant and am fascinated by the innovative space of crypto and blockchain, different ways of thinking, and the people that are making that happen. So let's talk blockchain. My guest today is Phillip Reedy. Phillip is a blockchain enthusiast and a core team member at Spartan Protocol and Universe Finance, and a community manager at THX.network. Phillip started his journey as a crypto investor, like all of us, but became more intrigued by the people in the space and their ability to coordinate as a team with the new technology being created. Today, we aim to talk with Phillip about community management. So not the technicals about Spartan Protocol or Universe Finance, not that we don't care about what they do, but lighter stuff. So on the lighter side, creating a Web3 community and tools that go with it. We'll touch upon AMAs and also just wherever our conversation leads us. So Phillip, welcome to the show. And we're excited to have you and talk about communities.
Hi, Nina. It's great to be on the show, and I'm looking forward to touch base on communities. So thank you for the introduction, and I'm happy to be here on Blockchain Recorded. So let's make a start and talk about myself. I started crypto roughly 3 years ago, and I became quite intrigued by everything being on a ledger and the technology everyone was creating. So I thought to myself, well, how can I extend on my current skill set? I'm an early school leaver. I want to continue to learn, and I don't have the funds to go to university. So I chose to invest into crypto, and I went pretty hard into it. So I always lived by my own philosophical means, and I figured that if I hang around some good people in life, there's actually a quote that I live by Amy Poehler: find yourself a group of people who challenge and inspire you, spend a lot of time with them, and it will essentially change your life forever. So I found my first group of crypto degens, is how I'd call them, and started investing in different projects, and the bull run did start, and I cashed in and out, and then I essentially found some community ran projects that I became more heavily interested in, and then I really went from there and started extending on, hey, can I help out here and there? I know this and that, I'm good at this. I come from an aged care background, so I have a lot of experience in helping the elderly, so why can't I just help people within the community and understand the concepts of Web3 and crypto? And whatever I learn, I teach to others and pass down.
That's awesome, Phillip. You are already my role model in terms of helping out the elderly. I mean, kudos to that. And also in terms of the quote, that's resonating with me. I didn't realize Amy Poehler said that, but it's definitely a mantra to go by. Just curious, what exactly is your role at Spartan Protocol and Universe Finance? And how are actually these interrelated?
So basically, I went through Spartan Protocol right after May of 2021. I got more involved in the project, and I found that the community was a bit lacking. There's a lot of misconception and people fighting, and I was started to invest in that project because I found the quite of a promise in DeFi. I'm a bit of a DeFi degen. And that's where I started, and that's where I'll stay. I do have my gaming plays and NFT plays, but I always find the value in DeFi, and you can earn a 0.575 8% interest in the bank, but you can earn a whopping 80% in just investing in crypto and DeFi. So, you know, that's where I kind of stand in more of a conservative approach rather than just gambling on coins and stuff. So really what the comes down to is they're both DeFi platforms, and my role is to keep the community safe as well as raise awareness and trust within the community. So the jobs that I did start out as were how I got into Spartan Protocol was not through a normal means. I created some meme videos for the community in Spartan Protocol, and I actually used to dress up and have a hobby of laughing. And so I have a full knight's medieval armor suit in my house.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And I dressed up and I started beating up a computer chair, shouting, "This is Spartan Protocol by Sparta today." And this was really early into the bull run, and people loved it. I mean, I became a mascot overnight, and I just love the feeling of being loved by many. Providing that kind of content, the entertainment for people is what you brought me a lot of joy, as to the joy that I bring the elderly in my aged care, to see them smile at the end of the day when I walk home, work, and you know that's what I care about. So that's what really got me involved in the community management, sparked my interest the most, is that you can change some people's lives that, you know, just simply invest in the project, and you know, as well as talk to investors and stuff like that. Make it a fun environment for them. And you know, I found that there's a lot of stigma, negativity, and FUD because it was more money driven. But what about if we just make this space community driven rather than focus on the quick pump and dumps? We make something sustainable. So sustainable DeFi is my thing. Sustainable
DeFi is your thing. Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned you like the entertainment factor, but to me, it does sound, it's not just entertainment, right? I mean, it's coupled with core solid values.
Exactly, yeah.
Right. You got to be there for the right reasons and do what you do for the right reasons. And so this is actually more what we're going to talk about, because it does intertwine with the notion of the Web3 communities and the Web3 world that we're basically entering now, right? And paving the way. Just quickly, just to clarify, you're the community manager at THX.network. What exactly is THX.network?
So Thanks Network, how it's pronounced.
Oh, Thanks Network. Yeah. Sorry.
They're a software company based in Amsterdam. And basically what they do is they incentivize token engagement rewards for their communities. And they're a great platform because I feel like they've got that Web3 technology that have a direct engagement from platforms such as Spotify, YouTube, as well as you know, Twitter even, to any sort of platform where you can create your own token pool and you know, get communities to engage within whatever posts or videos you might create to implement Web3 into existing Web2 platforms and websites that haven't transitioned over. So they're kind of like the bridge between Web2 and Web3. And I feel like a lot of people are going to continue to use Google, YouTube, other platforms, as well as we need a bridge in between Web2 and Web3. I mean, it's far overlooked from the technology, although it's a censorship resistant store value and a game changer for all the industries out there. We are going to have bigger organizations and corporate wanting to have power. So we have to comply within the means of the regulators, the means of, as well as being censorship resistant, we need to go and follow the rules of these platforms if we want to interoperate with their users. So they have the traffic and we have the technology. Boom, bada boom. We can work together. So that's what I think Thanks is very capable of, and I'm quite happy to be part of there. I reached out to them via the Copper launch IDO. They have a open launch essentially. So what you have in crypto is you can have open launches which determine the floor price of a crypto. So pretty much fair launch crypto. And that's how some of these projects do raise their funds in starting their own liquidity pools.
Yeah, Web3 is such a buzzword now. You've alluded a bit to what Web2 did for us in the sense of those, trusted actors from computer networks, et cetera. We essentially surrendered our data for others to profit from it, right? No big secret, big tech. And it should be us that should own our own data and profit from it by our own choice. I hope Web3 can really offer this with decentralized protocols and the rise of Web3 communities, which really are new models of coordinating people as well as behavior. So this is kind of where you come in. But before we dive into the importance of communities, so you said your main focus is in DeFi. I can't help get around the criticism going around that the Web3 ecosystem has turned to, some even say Las Vegas, with all the DeFi gaming and NFT hyped projects popping out every day. What are your thoughts around this?
Yeah, so I mean, that's where I come in and I see the flaws, because I see a lot of projects, they're forking contracts, and it's very important for the newer investor to not essentially trust, but verify that what they're actually investing in is a real project that has fundamental, unique values. What you want to really look towards when as an investor, as well as looking at a community, is if the project is either a fork of a contract or at the end of the day, if it's original. So the originality is what creates the value in the crypto space. Many years ago, I found that looking back on the timeline of crypto, that people could just copy and paste Bitcoin as essential contract and change a few values here and there, as well as that being able to create value. But this is not the case today. A lot of people are more interested in advancing the technology, which is blockchain and crypto. So what we want to do is create something that people can use, people can utilize, it can change the space. And not only in crypto, as what we want to do to create value is, innovate, and that's how value is generated. So what creates value at the end of the day is the originality, and that goes for the music and art industry too. Oh, absolutely.
Fair enough. In terms of value creation and contribution, I mean, the concept of DeFi is sound also, right? It's decentralized. We know no intermediary. There's no central control point hovering over. And sort of the mantra is that it's accessible. It's an accessible marketplace to everyone. Well, hopefully everyone. There are still obstacles to reaching everyone, right? But with DeFi ecosystems and communities, one can, I keep coming back to this, one can argue they can also argue that they're exclusive and that they are essentially promoting the value of capital. And while it's great that, we get this, really super high yields, one can argue that essentially promoting the value of capital is promoting greed. Versus promoting inclusivity and values themselves. You said you like philosophizing too in one of our conversations before. So thoughts on that? Yeah.
So basically, when it comes to, values, you want to look at essentially what values you're living by. So
right.
Walt Disney have their own kind of set of their core company values, which is, I think, inclusivity, show, and I can't remember them all off by heart, but they basically set out the way they want to basically have that decency and quality, as well as including their own audience within everything that they kind of created. So when you look at the greed and capitalism and stuff like that goes on, you have to take a step back and go, okay, well, is this just another pyramid scheme? Because that's essentially what some DeFi platforms turn out to be. You have to be a smarter investor and see through the lines. So don't think with your you could go into a few different ways. We don't think with your greed. Think with your brain. So it's the same when it comes to meeting being a philosopher, because the same comes to meeting a partner in life. So don't think with your dick, but think with your brain.
Right.
Let's go with
I guess that's the male side.
Yeah, I hope I'm allowed to say that on here.
Absolutely. No, we're not censorship resistant over here. So yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, go on.
But even then, so you have to look at the stats and numbers of what the community engagement might be on those platforms as well. And you just need to look at everything, not just a single metric. And it goes for everything, look and then judge and then action. So that's with pretty much every decision you make in life. And don't miss the steps. There's a 3-step process, and goes about like without investing. And so there's a lot of shady people, unfortunately, within being a fully decentralized world with no intermediaries.
Right.
Unfortunately, the removal of intermediaries increases the more susceptible amount of bad actors there might be as well. So it is the Wild West, and that's why regulation is coming in. But essentially, you can't truly regulate a fully decentralized blockchain regardless. So that's where it comes in to be educated. Education is the best line of defense.
Oh, absolutely. Do you think that with the decentralization factor, so removing the control point, there is more of this bad acting and greed and chaos? I mean,
absolutely not. No.
Versus, yeah, I mean, because this is where we are now, right? Versus the centralized, because the centralized also brings out the bad in people because they're just trying to find shortcuts, you can argue.
Well, I'd still say fiat currency accounts for most of the money laundering and bad acting there is. So, I mean, crypto is a driving space, but to have government control over what we essentially want to get away from is not something that I would go for and agree with. So, the importance of privacy is essentially what Web3 is, and what we want to do is to create it could create anything. So when you go and talk about earlier, so we're going from Web 2, such as going and selling our information into Google or Facebook, something like that.
Right.
We want to go and create something on a decentralized platform and have that as a starting point into shaping what we want out of the Web3 technology and crypto. It really comes down to taking your rights back. And if you don't want your rights, then they'll be taken from you. People will regulate them. People will ask you to conform to the way that the world wants you to be, what your government wants you to act and behave. So to have your say in that importance is a very important changing technology.
Mm-hmm. Let's take a step back. So we know that communities are at the center of any successful DAO or gaming, DeFi, what you have, or NFT project. In fact, we would say that an engaged community is the driving force behind the Web3 upgrade. Can we start, or can we talk about exposing the community's importance? And share your thoughts around that.
Yeah, absolutely. So sometimes a community is the number one driving factor that creates a successful cryptocurrency or project. You see, obviously, the kind of involvement from the community that really makes it go public in the media, and what the Western world is the users behind the community. So it's a fair and reasonable argument to say that those metrics can't be ignored. The community importance is definitely a good starting point, but you have to look into how it's progressed and what it's based upon. So as I mentioned earlier in the podcast, the greed in the space is a trafficking. It's what's driving a lot of the traffic currently in the bull run. And you look at the investment too. So if you want to invest in a meme coin, you'll obviously find the different kind of community altogether. So looking at the stats and numbers, the engagement can be manipulated for a greedy purpose. And that's when you have to decide, you have to go into these communities yourself, take the time, because time is money. And obviously you're investing your time and money into research and educating yourself on what is a good investment, as well as looking at other metrics. So you have to see the value in that community, what they're bringing. It could be, even a meme coin you're investing in, you have to look at what these people are basing on. So how much profit they've currently made, whether you're going to be left out in the dirt. Are you essentially buying the top at that stage? So the importance is important, because what drove Shiba Inu's success was a number of things. So you could talk about that being a meme coin, but this is the driving force of community. Right there is you have to look at how it's being adopted, this technology, why you have to look at the whys and hows. So that's the importance right there.
Yeah, well, I mean, we all hear many times that a community of a certain project is bad. And again, we've talked a lot about this, right? Alluding to a mostly speculative when Lambo pump and dump community. How do you deal with this, given that you're kind of in the driver's seat of a community as a manager?
Yeah, so I've got this far too often. A lot of community attacks, and unfortunately, there's a lot of people that just seem to have that greedy mindset we were going on about earlier, and money in investing, and they hate losing it. So anyone filled with hate will can pass a reasonable level of energy to continue to even fight in the social channels. They think being down on their portfolio is, a reason to attack a project, and it's not always going to help it. But all feedback should be considered as important. So they might have a genuine reason to say this, but the solution, I guess, is how we deal with this is something. It's more of like a sneaky approach. So we essentially build and continue to face value on the project, and the only advantage we have over them is time. And truth really has a funny way of shining through and blinding out the bullshit, especially when it's being fought with arguments that aren't really quite thought out. So yeah.
How do you actually deal with problematic members? I mean, obviously, if they're going way over, you can exclude them, but how do you deal with them?
So I go on this case by case basis. So everyone likes to feel included. So we go back on the Disney motto, where inclusivity is important. That's why we all like Walt Disney. We all feel included. Yeah, we got something to relate to with the old movies and everything like that. So we go on a case by case basis of the individual, and it does take some time. You can't just outright ban someone and throw someone in the dust. Someone's got a reason to have a problem, and you have to figure out what their problem is and essentially define and solve it for them. So they could be just a little bit confused, or they could have a misunderstanding, and you want to get a resolution that way. And what you can really do is you can change some people's mindset. And some people just don't have a great mindset when it comes to investing. So to have a way to not just like throw out your community, but engage and problem solve with them to make them a happier community member is what community management's all about. And Absolutely. Far too often I see a lot of people that claim to be community managers, they just outright ban these kinds of people, and I don't think that's a good approach. Obviously, you wanna really touch the hearts of all your community.
Oh, you're so right. I mean, that's sort of the easy way out. I mean, it's kind of also, I guess punishing someone and just sticking them in a jail cell. I mean, obviously not to draw parallels here, but there are certain countries that actually deal with this differently. I don't know. I think for example, in Norway, they actually, prisoners go through therapy. So, I mean, I don't want, not to, this is apples to oranges, but like you said, you want to touch the hearts. You actually want to touch them in a way that they feel included and sort of wake them up so that they know they are part of something. And they also are sort of have an ownership. I mean, in a sense, the communities today in the Web3 world, it's all about ownership, right?
Yeah.
But you talked about engagement. How do you how do you achieve engagement? I mean, you start probably through a fair distribution in the form of a token launch, et cetera, just like how a lot of communities do. But how do you go about that?
So to build engagement is that you have to provide something of value or help out the user with their problem and get them to provide the feedback. So when we go back to the people that say the community project is bad, there's something that there could be a genuine concern there. So as the community manager, you have to listen to all the noise in the room, and really that's how you build the engagement. Is you've got to start the noise and then listen to the echoes around. And, you know, in the community attack sense, we could go back there, is we want to really essentially diffuse any thing that might be driving their actions, which might be hate. And they just, sometimes people who are in that kind of spin, they can't be reasoned with. So those people kind of exist within our daily lives, not just projects. And even the ones that are universally most accepted as the most successful projects they're everywhere, like down the street and in the shops. They're the ones that kind of complain. They're the Karens of life that we see. And even the Karens of life can be the most wonderful people. We just get caught up in our emotions sometimes. And it's sad to see that we've got this. I mean, I do agree. I like the Karen meme, but sometimes I look at it with my own heart and go, well, that could be me sometimes. So, you know, have overcome issues with life. And it's just about continuing on course and trying to essentially communicate. Communication is one of the most important driving factors, and then listen to the echoes around and really shape and form and grow and learn together.
Well said. Can you give us an example of a great community?
Sure. A great community is pretty much one that's going to provide value back to your project. So helping out is like a fantastic thing as a community manager, to have your own community members that love to come back because they love the way they feel when they're engaging with the community. So the value that they actually give back by engaging and providing input to the communities rather than a greedy sense, they provide different feedbacks which can help to improve the project. And rather than looking at something and saying the community of this project is bad, there's something that they could help with around the community that they could essentially provide the input as to why the community of the project is bad. Is a better question to be asking is why they think the community of the project could be bad. So really the wording could go a lot differently. When you say something like the community of the project is bad, there's something in that could be genuine as concern, because that's feedback too. And that's why you yourself is the one have to ask them questions and really take that time, because this is the way that if you listen to people and make them feel included, then they're just going to go, hey, well, this is not just one of those other projects that I just mentioned, which is the greedy ones. This is actually one that's trying to build something here. So yeah, getting everyone involved and having a set goal, a goal that you actually do achieve, and showing promise and really essentially meeting deadlines and getting successful, showing the community that you can prove that you have good leadership skills. Leadership's one of the best important things to build a great community. You need to have good leadership skills. Well,
that actually brings me to the function or role of a community manager. Besides leadership and what you just mentioned, what are the tasks and what does it take for the community manager to be successful? I mean, how would you describe the function or role of a community manager? You've talked a lot about what you were asking or talking about before.
This is easy. So basically, it's pretty straightforward. So from the community side, you have to be the backbone of communication and have those leadership skills. Be fairly good at keeping things organized and seeing out that the community are in a healthy state and people also carry out their roles and tasks, and making sure everything flows within the mainstream. So as a community manager, the roles that you have might not just be managing the community community too. You might be managing your own developers, and you might be managing that things go as compliance and ensuring your colleagues are happy within your own workplace. So it's just a much bigger job and role that you might think is if your workers aren't happy that are actually building these smart contracts, then you're not going to have a great community. You're not going to have a great project. So happiness and feeling of comfort, inclusivity, the probably the main things that you kind of do as a community manager, as well as filtering out the BS, keeping things in shape, and even there's a little bit of general marketing that might be done on the side as a community manager. So that's where I'd start with what you'd need to do. And that's going to be the function of what your job might be in the crypto Web3 world, is to essentially be flexible as you possibly can, because this is a very flexible space. There's no set task or role. You have to learn how to dance in the rain. Sometimes it's anything could happen within a project, and it's up to you to make sure that the piece is glued together. So it's like the round peg through the square hole scenario. You got to make sure you get it in the hole.
Yeah. Love that. Love that. Before we have this podcast, I've searched for the definition actually for the somehow official mainstream version of what community management is. I mean, we think of this as just a simple concept. And what I found is that it's the process of building an authentic community among a business's customers, employees, and partners through various types of interaction. It's how a brand uses opportunities in person and online to interact with their audience to create a network in which they can connect, share, and grow. Given that we are talking about the Web3 world, how would you redefine this definition to adapt it?
So actually that definition is kind of a broad spectrum definition, and it does fit the criteria of the crypto Web3 space as well, because as you said, community management is a process of building an authentic community through business customers, employees, and through various types of the interactions. The interactions that I actually did mention earlier are what uses the opportunities and creates that online interaction with the audience to essentially network, and that's what why everyone feels comfortable and they're a part of the community where they can kind of connect and share and essentially grow together. So I would say the core fundamental values of what mainstream is what creates any form of community anywhere. And it's not just about community manager online. It's in day-to-day life. So that's a very good definition. I wouldn't really define it and adapt it for the Web3 world, other than being just that slightly bit more flexible and learning to essentially grow as the industry does grow, and making those changes that you need to make.
Let's say hypothetically that someone's building a Web3 project. How would you advise them to start a community? I mean, it sounds easy. But it does pose challenges, as well as certain challenges on the way, like having people not being in it for the right reasons, right? But how would you advise on starting a community?
Yeah, so I guess you could go back in the quote, find yourself a good group of people who challenge and inspire you, and spend a lot of time with them. So that would change your life forever. What you really want to do is find a group of people that you can kind of get along with to form that project and fit in. So when it comes to building a team, you're also building a community. You need to have at least a team to coordinate with, and you want to be all equally motivated, or at least work towards the same specific goal. And then you want to market your center audience around the energy you're creating. And it's like an attractive aura which creates and drives a strong community. And while it's not mandatory, it's like one of the the best driving points that it comes to building successful community is like essentially build it and they will come. So that's the first step. If you got that magic right there, then you can build anything, you could sell anything. The second step would be to really get in the heads of your target market and solve the problem for them that you yourself have found the solution for, as well as your team members. And this goes into marketing as well, as you need to communicate with them about your solution, and the effective way is to give something value to them, engage with them and get them interested to find out more and find that attraction within your investor, why they're invested in that project, why they want to be part of the community, why. These are the whys that you want to find out. So this is the fundamental shift, and this is what made gaming and crypto trending, is because really you got a lot of people, you got a younger audience, you've got a lot of younger people. It's a very big cash cow for younger generation. Everyone loves their games, and the younger generation are the ones that are most invested in crypto. So this is why it went boom. Next thing I think we'll see is the next wave of investors. This is in your mid 40s and people that are more conservative. So I reckon the next wave will be stable coins. I am very confident that DeFi will be taking off soon, because we already have the younger crowds, and now the younger crowds are going to the older crowds. It's going more mainstream, and then soon hopefully full scale adoption will happen. This is basically Web3 in a nutshell. I think obviously younger people are going to get whiffed of it quicker because they like what's trendy, and they like
right.
It takes a little bit longer for the oldies to catch up. They're not into the games; they're into the wealth.
Are you calling 40+ people oldies?
Yeah, I guess so. But I love them.
Oh, okay. Community incentives in terms of token incentives. Let's talk about that. How and to what extent is monetary encouragement healthy? I mean, I know you're in DeFi, but these are the questions you're going to get.
So this is something that I actually do encourage slightly, because I feel like while community incentives, in terms of like tokens incentives giving out to your community for providing value to the project, you have to construct it. There's a very tricky way, because people have found ways to game the system essentially. So they can create unfair value and advantage over, incentives to airdrops and stuff like that. Whether they create multiple wallets or have either scripts set up, some smart people out there, they're able to essentially find loopholes within what kind of automated system on Web3 environment that you've kind of built. And what I found is to keep it minimal. To follow the KISS principle, which is keep it simple, stupid. And essentially, you want to either dish them out in a more centralized approach, which is individual giving basis, and as well as either employ more people and community incentives. I think what really, you don't need them. What drives the value is the project. So kind of pay the people to come to your conference. It must be a pretty boring conference, like you see this often. It's like, I'm going to pay for everyone's beer if they stick around to hear me talk, everyone does it. And usually half of the time it either is a pyramid scheme or it is just boring. So you get the free drink, but what do you get? You get like an hour of torture. No, not for me. So that's what I'm seeing here. Is I'm seeing a lot more projects that don't have show of promise use this kind of feature, and I do have mixed feelings about it, because I think it can be a useful tool, but it just needs to be programmed in the right fashion for that community. And so where I stand is that we're in a Web3 environment. People should be excited about this project they're investing in, and so when it comes to use back on my projects, I try and discourage them. So, if the marketing team wants to do it or something like that, they can go ahead and do it. So heavily more involved in Spartan Protocol. We definitely don't do this model, and people are also excited. And we do save up more of a community fund, because we don't have any sort of team allocations and airdrops for this. So what we do every couple of months is we pull together some funds and we hold out a giveaway with it, and it not be for tokens, because we just find that people are going to sell them anyway. We want to give back something special like an NFT, or we want to give back something physical. What we gave away last time, we gave away a drum to one of our lucky winners roughly after New Year's.
Oh, a drum?
Yeah, an NFT drum. So we basically took our NFTs, we blended them together, so we backed them by the NFTs that we have. And this is for an upcoming game that we have scheduled. It's going to be probably the end of the year we start development, because we're caught up in actual stable coins now. We have announced that we will be issuing a stable coin, working towards a proposal that's just come through. We just have to get the community feedback for this one.
Okay.
Whether we wind down our synthetic asset approach, and then that way we can build up smart contracts to issue a stable coin and build some more value within the project and get some more users onboarded. And so, yeah, that's what we do. We find the value in other means other than token incentives. Why not give away something cool like people will like because they like the project? They're like, oh, I've got this one-of-a-kind drum, you know, this is something I'm going to hold for until I'm 90 years old. That's how I feel.
That's very, very cool.
Yeah.
So these are token incentives and other incentives. But you've also talked about, using tools. So the versatility of tooling for community management can also be immense. So what tools do you use besides, obviously the main tool is communication, right? What do you use besides communication in text and image and video? I mean, you mentioned you do in-person meetings as well to engage your community, or no?
Yeah, so we have our community calls. I'd call them community calls because if you call them an AMA, it's more of an ask me anything. So community calls, I like to shape them into that wordology because that way you can involve everyone. They don't feel like they're just asking the central authority team the questions. That way they feel like, hey, I want to have my voice for, like 10 or so minutes and be able to provide some input. So I'd call them mass meetings and, the community calls. This is how we get all of our active members together to provide what they want to see, have their right of free speech. This is like when it comes down to, I think honestly, when, you have elections and voting, they have people they want that to happen within different changes within government. So why not have something similar, but more so decentralized with your community? So have as many people as possibly they want to have a voice to be able to have that heard. No restrictions within having the challenge of media having to go directly to different people, and no bias, any having something that it's all free speech. Have the ethos of that decentralization component is the most important thing, because that way you can create changes within your smart contracts. You can create changes within how you structured your community. You can create essentially the project that everyone wants to keep coming back to, that's going to last years and years. And this is the kind of feedback that you want. It's this extremely valuable feedback that is what's made the shape of Google and Facebook so successful, but they haven't actually acquired this information via really fully talking to people. They've acquired it by data mining and gathering people's data and basing it off their own invasion of privacy to shape the platform. So instead of doing that, we're actually being honest.
Yeah, that's that's key. So you don't like to refer to them as AMAs. You do community calls. Are these virtual? I mean, are these online, or do you actually? Yeah. Okay.
So we have a few different platforms we can go about via this. All goes down to what the community want. We could do it via Twitter Spaces. I've had a few of those via Twitter Spaces. And we have a platform called Discord, which is a media chatting platform. We have a good portion of our users in when we have them through there. And we also have another one called Telegram, which is another chatting platform that people can also talk on and communicate via text and via microphone input. But the way that we want to engage is keep both options available. Some people want to maintain their privacy, so we don't want to have them talk with their voice. Sometimes they want to type in the chat box, which is perfectly okay. And we get that to happen too. I mean, we cater to the individuals that live by their own means, and I fully respect that. And I think it's a great thing that people have those beliefs.
So Telegram, Discord,
even Twitter, yeah,
even right. Twitter. I mean, those are like the usual suspects. Discord, Discord probably more for. I actually read about inner circle targeting versus outer circle targeting. I mean, now we're getting like really technical for community management, but would you say that Discord is more for the contributors and inner circle community people, or is this? Do you just have like one pool overall?
I'd say you have to essentially jump between which platforms you're using, because Discord is, I believe, to be more of an inner circle way to talk to your community. Now, I forgot to mention you have other things like Twitch TV and you have YouTube too, but they're web 2 platforms, and so is the others I've just mentioned. And you do have other amazing technologies coming and advancing, which are built on Solana. I do have, the guys down at Fortech as a strong connection of mine, and they're building their own DChat and Dmail, and essentially a way to kind of stream a communication between Web3 wallet to Web3 wallet. And, that's a one-on-one communication. Maybe they'll, in the future, platforms will look at group wallet-to-wallet communication. I feel like in order to maintain this ethos of community, you shouldn't even need a wallet. So have people have true privacy without a wallet in kind of that internal communication, as well as have the option. So keep the option available.
But that's great. You're talking about the Fortech DChat. So you're talking about a decentralized alternative. That's actually pretty important, right? Considering that we want to stay decentralized.
Yeah. And that option should be available, because I feel like, some people just want to have the way that they can kind of communicate in a wallet-to-wallet fashion. They don't want to use these platforms, and we have more and more people really getting sick of how some poorly managed communities are out there, and they just want to have that internal communication within the project's internal team and ask them questions directly. And that's where we go away from the email setting. We're going into wallet communication. We're talking with our wallets, and so there'd be option to ask the developers, the team, questions by sending them a Dmail and a DChat using the Fortech platform and their own internal wallet structure. And soon you'll be using your own Solana wallet and different chains to communicate on. So it's always good to have the option, because at the end of the day, freedom is one of the important drivers of our society. Everyone wants to have the ability to provide the input, the ability to essentially have those rights. And I feel like a lot of them are being taken away in different places, and people are moving. They're actually showing with their money, their wallets, their drive and adoption of crypto. They're packing up and leaving to different countries where they think it's better for them, because they feel like their fundamental values are being more driven upon. Right. And so they want to get those things that are important back. And if that's what they're doing, then crypto is going to be the next thing they're going to be picking up, because our financial sovereignty and our financial wealth and our means and our communication, these are things that are all being invaded with our privacy and things like that. These are very important things, and I feel like we're being governed, policed so heavy in some certain areas that what does it mean to be a human being? We have to ask ourselves the question. I know I'm being a little bit philosophical here, but there are important things that a human needs and have needs and wants to keep them emotionally happy. And this is why we seem to have a lot more, I think, mental health problems as a result of the pandemic too, because I think even though we have a harsh thing that's happened, we've all overcome it as human beings. We need to understand this is just an event that and we have to not let this have the worst impact to our mental health as well. So keeping balance is something that's important too, which I could go into as well, but I think I've already touched the surface.
No, you're so on the spot. I mean, this is so important. We're dancing around the importance of community and what it takes to manage it, and sort of the ownership factor of a Web3 community. But I don't think we can, finish off this podcast without talking about the past 2 years. Because you yourself, you're from you're from Australia, which let's not sweep this under the rug. I mean, there's been I guess opinions aside, but you're right. I mean, people are packing up and leaving. Maybe more so the younger generation that can do that and has believes in is just making things happen, right? But you're so right. I mean, this is just a sort of a melting pot of all these different paradigm shifts that are going on. And I know it sounds cliche to say this paradigm shift because so many people are talking about it, but it's true. And here we have crypto that can help and decentralize and actually empower. So, and as a community manager, I mean, do you see actually, because you say that people are picking up and packing and leaving to different countries, and do you see that within this community? I mean, do you have this?
Yeah, I see that all the time, that people, if they don't like a community, they're just going to pack up and find a new one. And going back on real world events, this is something that crypto actually shines the light on, that you can't create something that is going to be centralized, and you can't be versing the world as a community manager. You have to embrace the technology and shape it in the way that everyone is living in essentially the cryptoverse together. Like it shapes like the politics. So you can look at politics and the way people can pack up and move. You don't want to essentially bring that back into what you're creating and what you're getting away from. And to see that happening in various projects, there's something flawed there that you have to go, right, well, okay, well, this is destroying the industry, is destroying the space. So I think what a lot of institutions will look at and see is that there's no freedom in certain where they're investing. It's so they have to do their research and find true decentralization and true projects that they're investing in. Because I know regulators are shaping things up, and this is why anonymous projects and stuff, one of the things that drove Bitcoin and what's made it so successful is because essentially governments can come and take your possessions and everything away because you're running a crypto project and they don't like the ethos and values that you're promoting because they're taking control away from them. And a lot of people are attracted to the freedom. Freedom, that's what you live for every day.
Yeah, and they dictate and control your assets, which is a huge problem. So there we go with the paradigm shift.
Yeah, it is a big paradigm shift. I completely agree. But I think a lot of people are waking up, and there's some really positive shifts for the future. I'm looking forward to what my investments are going to do.
Yeah, absolutely. You did say you talked about the cryptoverse. The only challenge, well, one of the challenges that I see is that sort of the older generations are still fearful of this, right? They think this is, we're all going to be controlled by AI, but it's so much more than that. As I would say, maybe as a community manager, this is also one of the things to keep in mind, to have this inclusivity factor versus exclusivity factor. I think people who are on the outside of the cryptoverse fear it and feel excluded. But once they give it a shot and just, start playing with it or listen to it or, buy their first, I don't know, whatever it is, Bitcoin or whatever, actually they'd be surprised to see that it's more inclusive than maybe what they were used to before.
Absolutely, I agree.
I want to just ask you, to a community manager that's just getting started out, you were in this spot. what would you advise to them? I mean, we talked a lot about all this stuff here, but what would you advise them in a nutshell?
Base your morals. Keep things based what your beliefs are. So if you believe in something and this is why you're doing the community management, make sure those beliefs are something other people are going to have a really bad impact on them. Make sure you're mindful and keep things as possible and fair. And, for everyone else, just because you have a community full of different people of all various different backgrounds and beliefs, keep it so it's able to coincide with everyone. So that's essentially what you're doing. You're making it so everything can kind of glue together with the pieces. So look back, and if you're community manager of something that's going to be fully decentralized as a project, then that's probably what you'd be looking at, the mindfulness. And if you're looking at like a community where it be for a specific game, then you might be more relaxed. But it's all a circumstance and case by case scenario of what you're managing. So it could be something very sensitive, such as a financial instrument, which is what I'm kind of used to, which is why I've had to really understand myself to be able to manage the community, because you don't want to push your community away in that respect. That's where I'll keep standing. I'll keep standing to be the oracle of the people and help the people.
Oh, I love that. Oracle of the people. I love that.
Yeah.
And not building a community, right? But with community.
Exactly.
I think that's sort of that could be your Oracle mantra. And I mean, Phillip, what you do, I think, is so important. What does your roadmap look like? What are your future plans?
For myself personally, I think would be to fundamentally build my wealth back up to where it was. I did have quite a scenario where I made some bad financial choices in May of last year, the big crash, and I didn't take profit. This is like just like, oh well, I believe so much in this project, this is gonna go. I'm happy,
Well, that was the greed. That was the greed part, but you have to learn from it.
That was the grade. I made an over-the-counter deal, and I was pretty happy about it all. And I thought, well, I did want to run this project. I feel too good about it. I had $2 million sitting in there, and Anyways, I learned from that one, and so it's actually taught me a lot back on reflecting on myself and being able to improve the relationships around me, discover myself more, as well as work hard at building. So building in the bear market, I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to make a bigger career out of crypto than what I already have. I'm going to essentially prove on all the skills I do have and use them to create an even better project than what I'm seeing. I'm seeing a lot of rubbish projects around me. I'm seeing too much negativity. I'm seeing all these problems starting to occur in this bear market scenario. And these are the plans I want to solve to fix, and that's what I really want to essentially do, is build a better image for crypto and build these projects that I'm building on, which is Spartan Protocol, Universe Finance, and THX.network. So happy to build with the teams there, and if they for the roadmap for those projects would be Spartan, I know would be to look at the DAO and the proposals that have been actually just recently announced. We'll hopefully get a stable coin issued this year. It'd be very exciting because we are listed on the Binance exchange, and see where it goes, where it takes Spartan Protocol, because I feel like being just above 10 million market cap that it is, driving up that TVL and showing to those institutions that we are a fully decentralized, automated project on the Binance Smart Chain. With the ethoses that we currently have. And these are the things I believe in as a community manager. I'm thinking some smart people might pick that up and adopt it. So who knows what's going to happen for that project. And we have, the other projects that I talked, which is the THX.network and Universe Finance, which Thanks was the bridge between the Web 2 and the Web 3. And obviously it's a kind of different ball game there. So it does teach you the broader skills to manage different projects, and what your stances might be, and how you would position yourself as a community manager. And these are things I'm just going to keep working towards as my own roadmap. I'm pretty happy.
Well, that sounds awesome. I mean, let us not forget about your meme artist career.
Oh, yes.
I mean, that's a vital component. That's what got you in it. So, forget about those $2 million.
Yeah, let's close actually with that. So, I'm actually ordered some costumes, and I've still got that going on. Some awesome, fun videos coming out every now and then for the community.
Awesome.
And I'm actually hoping to create a small business out of that, just because it's so much fun. If projects want to reach out to me directly and have me dress up and do some stunts or video for them, then feel free to contact me on Twitter or possibly my Telegram. And my Twitter is @Reedy Phillip. So that's REIDY PHILLIP.
Okay.
And you'll find me on Twitter. My DMs are open.
Awesome.
And yes, if any projects want to obviously shine some fun on their community, they can definitely contact me and ask me for any advice. I'm free and transparent to anyone who wants a bit of help.
Well, Phillip, that's fantastic. I mean, you've got some big news. Congratulations with the finance step in terms of Spartan, and thanks a lot. People can reach out to you. You just gave the info, and I would love to actually have you back in some point in time and see where your path goes.
Absolutely. I'd love to be back on the show, Nina. And thank you so much for having me today. And thank you, everyone that's listening. I really do appreciate that. And yeah, this is the future, and let's see how it goes.
Absolutely. Absolutely, Phillip. Thank you very much. Thanks again to our guest, as well as thank you everyone for listening. Thank you also to the Badia music team for providing their music. You can check out their latest album on badiamusic.com. You can find all supporting information on our website, blockchainrecorded.com, and listen to us on Google, Apple, and Amazon podcasts, as well as Spotify, Radio Public, and Stitcher. Stay healthy and tuned for our next episode.